consolidate power. Headlines that the Orthodox leader in Kyiv under house arrest, that you consolidated Ukraine's TV outlets, that you ruled out holding elections next spring, calling for unity, but then the mayor of Kyiv says that you're turning it into an authoritarian state. How do you deal with that criticism? What do you say to critics who are saying that?
I say such person from government or mayors think about the war, think about how to defend our people. Don't travel through the world each day. Travel to the front line. Ask people, ask soldiers what they need. Do this. Not build roads for today. Don't do it. Spend all your money to the weapon, to the drones, to the society, to the pensions, and etc. And don't cry, because you are leaders, and that's it. That's why we are, and that's why we stay, because mostly people are not crying. People stay and fight against Putin, and we don't have any enemies in our country. We can't have time for this, and we don't have it. We have only one enemy. This is Putin, and that's it.
But you'll stand from democracy going forward.
Yes, of course, and of course, because we are really defending democracy, and we are really defending freedom.
Mr. President, we appreciate your time, and we'll continue to follow you.
Well, I don't care about bridges and roads. I care about money and war and drones and blowing people up.
Oy vey. Here's the thing. Here's my favorite part of that speech is when he said, "We'll worry about democracy later." You kind of go like, "Oh, that's a great statement to say. Well, we're not going to have freedom right now. We're going to ban the Orthodox Church," because the criticism that was thrown at him was, "Hey, the Orthodox Church has been banned. The Orthodox leaders are criticizing you, calling you basically a tyrant." And he's like, "We'll worry about it later. We don't have time for freedom right now. Let's just be a dictator."
And we continue to give this man a platform, bring him on, prop him up on Western media. He continues to come over here and ask for more money. When does it end? It's just so blatantly in your face, and you gotta love it, because I love sending my taxpayer dollars to Vladimir Zelensky.
I do too. You see, not only are we sending him another $200 million, but we already sent $200 billion. And when does the rape of the American taxpayer stop? I hope soon. I hope that we can start actually making America stronger, making America more independent, and not propping up Eastern European dictators. We've tried that before. When America was going into the Baltics, and when America was going into even Latin America, we're having coup d'etats and basically putting our own puppets in power. We haven't actually seen that be effective. Zelensky, as you know, America's puppet, what has he done for America? How has he benefited the American homeland?
Well, he benefits the military contractors greatly. And, all of these politicians, they have stock in these military contractors, i.e. Nikki Haley. Probably, to name a few, there's probably a few more as well, but you can see the politicians just sell out to warmongers, and war is very profitable.
Yeah. I think we need to go on Pelosi stock tracker to find out which calls, which puts she's buying right now in order to find out if we're going to war or not. If she puts a whole bunch of money in Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and Halliburton, we know that, okay, cool, we're going to war.
Well, we have to go to war, and not in this the traditional sense of going to war and fighting guerrilla warfare and fighting these people. It's an information war now, and we have to, challenge the narrative, challenge the corporate narrative that destroys the sovereignty. I don't believe we have sovereignty in this country anymore. It is hijacked. We are a corrupt regime running people that want to be free. Everyone looks at Russia. The media props up Russia as the enemy. People, they prop up China as the enemy. But it is the American government, it is the administrative state that has become our enemy. And you have to know your enemy.
Yeah. One of the most interesting things is when you pledge allegiance to our government, and the military oath is to fight both foreign and domestic enemies. Who's fighting our domestic enemies right now? Who's taking on the Bidens? Who's taking on the deep state? Who's taking on all of the tyranny that's being thrown at us. I don't know if anyone is right now.
Well, we do have some hope in the House Oversight Committee. We have, James Comer and Jim Jordan are trying to make up a fight against Hunter Biden and put out the corruption with the Hunter Biden and all the money laundering. We've seen Donald Trump being sought after for years by Democrats, and then I think it's our turn. We talked about this yesterday, but should we go after the other half? And I believe we should, because it's covering up so much truth and it contorts so many narratives. I mean, imagine if we would have known about the laptop situation in 2020. Imagine if the mainstream media didn't suppress that. But we're going to get into it today, so thanks for being here. It is BasedCast 74. Today is December 13th. Man, we're a couple weeks away from Christmas, and we are rocking away trying to create one of the most based podcasts and the most American podcast in the world, happily anti-globalist. And we just want to challenge the corporate narrative to create sovereignty in this country and challenge the mainstream media, because nobody's buying the mainstream media. I don't know about you guys, but it's not profitable. So let's get into the show today. I'm excited to have you here today, Micah, and let's go. Well, if Vladimir Zelensky had to be played by any actor, it'd have to be Ben Stiller's character in Tropic Thunder, Tug Speedman. Now, if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it, because I think it's a dead-on fit for Vladimir Zelensky. What do you think?
He can do anything this summer. Zelensky takes on Russia. I think it is I know it's a little bit of a joke, but I'm actually 100% with you on this joke. Zelensky is an actor. He could actually even play himself.
That's exactly
a little bit of a...
Where I was going with it. He could play himself.
He could play himself, or he is playing himself. That's an interesting conspiracy theory that I think we could probably get into, with saying Zelensky, he is a puppet. Why do they want a great actor as their puppet? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, because he does what he said. They does what the establishment wants him to do, and the banks, the NGOs that pull the strings, he does exactly what they want. And I'm sick of seeing this man come over here and play his story off as a victim, and he doesn't have the resources and tools to fight Russia. Like, honestly, that's your problem. And we continue to give this man money when it seems like that Ukraine has on their last effort to try to win this war. I mean, Russia's pretty much, pushed Ukraine all the way down to the ground, and we're continuing to give them more money. It's just going to be an endless money pit, and they're going to continue to push this narrative that they need more money.
How closely have you been following the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
Very, very broadly on the surface. There's so much to cover, but
one of the things I find most interesting about this whole conflict is our news media keeps on telling us that Ukraine is winning over and over and over again. There'll be another city taken by Russia, and they say, "Don't worry. Yes, a city was taken. Yes, a province was taken."
But if you watch like world news, they'll tell you a completely different story.
Yeah, that as well. But you'll always hear the narrative. But the summer offensive, ooh, Russia better watch out. That summer offensive, that fall offensive, that winter offensive, that spring offensive, that summer offensive again. We have watched them spin a narrative over and over about Ukraine. And I think it's really fascinating, because we can see that so much of America's corruption, even so much of Britain's corruption, and even if you go into a lot of the G6 countries, a lot of their corruption is all tied into Ukraine. And there is a reason why every single country, especially Britain and America, is backing Ukraine so heavily. Is it because Russia is the USSR? And we even heard Chris Christie in one of the debates says, Putin's trying to get the band back together. In what way? Ukraine isn't part of NATO. Ukraine has been like I said, I'm not taking a side in this war because this is not an American war. It's like me commenting on the conflict going on between Saudi Arabia and Yemen right now. Who cares? But the reason why it is important is because in the same way that they're pushing this narrative onto the American people, trying to get us to support it and to put boots on the ground, which our establishment would want nothing more than American boots on the ground, helping them to fuel this war. That's why I think it's important, is because the narrative is being pushed. They're trying to push this onto us. They're trying to extract more money from us so that they can continue their conquest. They can continue whatever corruption, whatever hydra of money laundering that they have going on there. Try to cut off one head and 10 more appear of, FTX, somehow that's involved in Ukraine.
Said it best. They're trying to mobilize troops and, get their military deals going and push the profits in this massive war machine. And I think Russia is not the enemy. I think they're being pinned as the enemy, and that's how it is with almost every war that we see in all the conflicts. They prop up a false enemy to pass their agenda. And I think Russia, their economy is booming right now. Their culture is booming. They don't have the woke mind virus here in the United States that we do. And I think they see the globalist threat too, but their politicians just don't go along with it like ours do. They're not selling out to the NGOs as much. And, maybe it's not so bad to live in Russia. Not saying I'm a
little bit of Russia-phile
KGB
over there,
but, I love America and I love the idea of America, but in the concept of what America can be, but we're not living up to that. And I don't think we are the greatest idea of a country could be, but currently we're not living that currently.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you on that because America's my home. America is always first. American ideals before any other ideals. But let Russia be Russia. Let Russia defend its own interests. Why is America getting involved with the interests in Eastern Europe? We should not be involved in that even one bit. Why is America getting involved in the sand pit in the Middle East? That is not our problem. That is not our war. But Ukraine, they're our ally. Since when? Since when has Ukraine been our ally? Do we have any treaties with them? Do we have any alliances with them? No, we do not. They're not part of NATO. We have no obligation to them. But one of the reasons why we're supporting them is because somehow our well, I'm gonna call him a libertarian wet dream right there. Drugs, sex, and alcohol. Hunter Biden. He's somehow tied in with this.
Hey, we have all those biolabs over there.
That's true. Was that story actually real? Do you know about that? Because I heard so many first when the invasion happened that Russia was destroying all of their biolabs. Was that true, or was I just falling into some fake news?
You could very well be. I don't know enough to talk on that, but I do know that Hunter Biden was held in contempt. Is going to be held in contempt by Congress. So he defied a lawful subpoena today, and he will now initiate contempt of Congress proceedings. There will be no special treatment because of his last name is Biden. This coming from the House Oversight Committee. Man, so, I was telling you before the show, we see Donald Trump be deposed. Not Donald Trump Jr. be deposed. We saw Eric Trump be deposed, and they sat in hearings for hours on end for their depositions. And, imagine if they would have skipped out completely. What do you think would happen?
Oh, the book would have been thrown. It would have been called the greatest insurrection ever. I can't believe Donald Trump and his family think they're above the law. Let's indict them on many more policies. Let's indict them in every single way that we possibly can. They would be held in contempt, and they would have gotten the General Michael Flynn treatment. They would have been thrown in jail.
Well, let's see what CNN said about the January 6th subpoenas. Let's take a look at this.
He asked the president tonight, what is his response to this? What does he think of people who are defying these subpoenas? And should the Justice Department prosecute them? And this is what he told us.
I hope that the committee goes after them and holds them accountable.
Should they be prosecuted by the Justice
I do,
Department?
yes.
He asked the president tonight, what is his response to this? What is
double standard much? We cover double standards all the time on this show. I think so.
Okay, real quick, that's a dude. That's 100% a dude. Like, look at that jawline.
Caitlin Collins is
Yeah,
a dude.
she's 100% a dude. I don't know if anyone else is calling this out, but that's a man right there. Which woman has a jawline that sharp? I don't know. That's like the most, like, I don't know, alpha Chad jaw on any man. Like, I don't know. But but I digress a little bit. It is interesting seeing Biden say that. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, how come they're not gonna do anything? They're not gonna do anything to prosecute Biden. I mean, they're going to try to. Let's hope, but it's just an apparent double standard that our justice system has. That, you know, you have the mainstream media on your side and protecting, and they're protecting this man so much. They're protecting Hunter Biden, and because it's his dad's president, and they don't want the truth to get out. And I think that's really what it's all about. And you've got these shills running cover for him.
Yeah, there is a lot of shills that do run cover for him. You can see, especially with CNN. CNN is the mouthpiece of the deep state. It is the mouthpiece of the White House underneath the Biden administration. I'm so happy that we've seen the erosion of trust in legacy media. CNN, I know you were going over this a couple days ago, with CNN's review numbers and how many people are actually watching them is down more than they've ever been before. That is a good thing for the American people. That shows that the American people are no longer swallowing the narrative that CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC pushes out. And that's one of the reasons why there needs to be alternative news. There needs to be alternative shows. There needs to be alternative to this nonsense. Because when you see someone on CNN clearly lie to you over and over and over again, I think a lot of people did wake up to it when we had Joe Rogan have the CNN doctor on, and he clearly lied and got caught in a lie. And I think a lot of people saw that. I think 2020 woke people up to CNN's lies and to the mainstream media's lies. And I think that the continued erosion of CNN is a huge benefit to the American people, to the American populace, because we're no longer just listening to our authoritative sources who tell us war is a good thing.
Well, people caught him in a real-time lie today, lying about this speech that Hunter Biden gave. So not only did Hunter Biden not show up, he showed up at the Capitol Hill. So very interesting. Just like I said, imagine if anybody else would have done this on the freedom movement side. It would have been a completely different situation, and the mainstream media would be blasting them a new asshole. So let's take a look here.
Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business.
Financially
not
involved.
As a practicing lawyer.
Remember that.
Not as a board member of Burisma. Not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman. Not in my investments at home nor abroad. And certainly not as an artist. Let me state as clearly as I can.
My father
was not financially involved.
So, financially involved is where it is. And this is where we show the corruption. So the New York Times posted this article. Now, the article has been taken down. It's been archived. He says in the article, now I don't know where it's at specifically, so I'll reference this. I am here, Mr. Biden. Let me state clearly as I can. My father was not involved in my business. Misquoting by one word, do you think it means something? Or it's just, it means nothing? I mean, financially involved is pretty important context there.
It is, and one of the things that is annoying is they're not even using proper grammar with it. If they're removing a word, they have to put ... But one of the things is that is a clear lie, and so it's not even a lie of omission. It is a clear change of the statement, and the understanding that he's not involved and not financially involved. We went over the story yesterday where there's 10% to the big guy. That $400,000 that was given to Hunter, which then somehow 40,000, 10% to the big guy, made it to Biden's personal bank account. It clearly shows that he was financially involved. He may not have been involved in the day-to-day interactions, but it shows that he was collecting money, utilizing influence peddling for the Biden crime family. There's so many different ways. Like, we can even go through this list that we have up on screen. We can see that there's many different ways from China, from the art dealings. And Hunter Biden, his art isn't worth, like $200,000, $300,000 a piece. Neither is his amazing financial advice when it comes to Chinese equity investments, or even his knowledge on energy. I don't know if he's got the $90,000 a month insight that Ukraine needs him to have.
Yeah, but how ridiculous. It's kind of like if you were to go to a major sporting event and go outside the arena and be like, oh, I'm here at the game. Yeah, look at me. I'm here at the game. But you're not really inside the game. That's exactly what he did today by showing up and not even going to his hearing. How ridiculous. And we'll be following this to see what happens and inform you. But no surprise here. Hopefully the House Oversight Committee can make some ground here. And, people need to serve. Justice needs to be served because, our candidate, the only one we put our hope into, he's not perfect. Donald Trump is being...
Oh, I thought you were going to say Chris Christie.
Oh, yeah, Chris Christie. I love Chris Christie. He's so good at running. So good at running. Maybe on a treadmill he needs to be. But anyways, our candidate is being just completely destroyed by litigation left and right on petty pretenses, and we have actual evidence. Now, I don't have the video, but Hakeem Jeffries, are you familiar with him? He's the Democratic half leader, and he went on to CNN saying, there is no evidence, there's absolutely no evidence that Hunter Biden has done anything wrong, if there's any implications. But, I mean, we see all this money, and we'll see through further investigation, hopefully, what's actually going to come of the situation and see where this case goes with Hunter Biden.
I would love to know your opinion. What do you think is going to happen? Like, let's say if you're a betting man, what would you bet would happen with the Hunter Biden case now that he's in contempt?
I think it's more likely at this point that Donald Trump gets put behind bars over Joe Biden.
One of the things I think about is, do you think that Hunter Biden did it on purpose? Because now no longer the news stories about Hunter Biden and his corruption. Now it's that he's being held in contempt. Do you think that is a play on his part to try to get out of the news story with corruption and just now being held in contempt? Is there a possibility that that's what he was advised to do? Like, hey, don't show up to this, because if you do show up to it, it's going to be used as... It'll change the story. It'll change the narrative. Now you're just not showing up to Congress. But before, it was Biden, the president of the United States, taking money from foreign interests, foreign entities. Do you think there's a possibility that could be what he was advised to do by, I don't know, some Karl Rove type figure?
I honestly don't think he's pulling the strings himself. I definitely think he's taking guidance somewhere, and they're trying to do something. But I mean, they're caught up in a lie at the moment, and I think you can only lie for so long and let it run before the truth comes out. I mean, the mainstream media has done such a good job for the last 3 years for the average American that's not paying attention. You flip on the news, and you wouldn't know otherwise. You'd think Hunter Biden would be completely innocent, but when you actually look at the details and the information that gets suppressed, hopefully that is now coming more to light, the fact that he's not even showing up.
Yeah, and what we see is the media runs so much cover for the Biden family, especially since Bidenomics, the Biden financial agenda, is crippling Americans. It's this year alone, Americans are $7,500 worse off than they were last year. They're basically robbing us through inflation, through raised gas prices, through home ownership, because you can't buy a home, because what a home that you could buy for $200,000 4 years ago now goes for $400,000 with the 8, 9, 10% 10% interest rates that you see on all 30-year fixed loans. Biden's administration is basically being handled with kid gloves by our media, which they should be going after him relentlessly. But the agenda that they're pushing forward continuously and every single day is that Biden is a president. Like, he's a great president. Don't even look at his record. Don't even look into Burisma. Don't even look into the Biden crime family. Just trust us. And we need to not actually be so trusting of our government and of our news institutions, because they are clearly lying to us, because we feel it out here. We feel gas prices being so much more expensive than they've ever been. And so in many ways, how can we actually exist as Americans with everything being so expensive? And so one of the things that we see with in the news is they run so many stories about how Americans are better off. Inflation goes up 9%, and then it goes down 1%, and they say Biden has decreased inflation by 1%. Oh yeah, of course, after it went up to 9%.
As a moment ago, you were bringing up the housing issue. Another thing that we get gaslighted by is when it comes to the economic ramifications of gas and of housing, we see the mainstream media gaslighting even more. Let's take a look.
What people were paying in a grocery store for bread or milk in 2019 with what they're paying today, yeah, maybe it's only 3% higher than it was last year, but it's 20% higher than it was in 2019. People are still feeling that.
No question, Joe. Look, we did have a lot of inflation go through the system, and for a while we did have very high energy costs. That affects farmers. We did have these supply chain problems. So when a farmer needed a piece of equipment or something like that, it costs more. We did have a lot of the lower wage workers get very substantial pay increases, which is great for them, the grocery store workers, people like that. But that increases costs at the grocery store and drives up prices. So we definitely did have a lot of inflation moving through the system, which did raise food prices to a permanent level. And I think you may be obliquely referring to a point that I'd also just like to mention, which is that something like 2/3 of the people who are going to vote next year were not voting 30 years ago, the last time we had inflation over 4%. They've never seen inflation like this. So this comes as a shock to them. And some of them at least kind of expect prices to then go back down again to where they were before. That doesn't happen. And in fact, deflation is actually kind of a bad thing. And so people just have no experience with this, and they're trying to wrap their minds around it, and they're taking it out on President Biden, which is not entirely fair at all.
And Richard, it's worth pointing out not only is the economy, the data, the economy doing well here in the United States, or better here in the United States, is doing much better than competitive economies around the world in terms of growth and unemployment and other factors you look at.
So it basically goes on to say that lower cost of living is actually a bad thing.
I like to quote the great Bernie Sanders, standing in the breadline. That's a good thing.
What do you think of that, Micah?
There's so much stuff to unpack with that, because I know Zane and I, we come from a little bit of the Austrian school of economics, where production is the main source of economic growth. And so when you don't have production and everything becomes more and more expensive, you then enter into Weimar Republic, because money is not real. Money is fake at that point, because if services are just being exchanged, no actual physical product, no real production, then money is meaningless. It's the transfer of ones and zeros and however much money you want to transfer back and forth. And one of the reasons why they say that, oh, deflation is a bad thing, not necessarily. Oftentimes in economics, people will always talk about deflation being bad, and we need to maintain a 2% level of inflation just so that people spend more, because we don't want the economy to slow down because people's money becomes more valuable. We need to maintain a system in which everyone has to spend their money so that the economy keeps on going. Why is it that money becoming more valuable rather than less valuable? Why is money's price, instead of it becoming worthless as time goes on, why is that a bad thing? Well, it's because people don't buy computers, because then they'll wait a couple more months because their money will be more valuable. Well, isn't that the whole value proposition of crypto? I'm not necessarily a big crypto fan, but that's the whole value proposition of Bitcoin, that instead of it being inflationary, it's deflationary, and it becomes more valuable the longer you use it, or the longer you hold on to it. And that's one of the things that it really annoys me, because they want inflation to maintain so that their economy can keep pumping along. But there's so many other different schools of thought, especially the Austrian school, which says that nonsense is that's all nonsense. And that's one of the reasons why I'm super excited to look into Argentina, because what was his name?
Javier Milei.
Okay. I always look at it and try to figure out how it's pronounced. Milei, he comes from that school as well, where he says the same exact thing. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it'll be really interesting to watch Argentina, because if they're able to turn around 140% inflation and actually go back to the other way and make their economy stronger through pegging their dollar to pegging their money to the US dollar and actually having it deflate. I think it'll be really interesting because it'll be a huge case study for why inflation isn't actually a benefit of the American people, because all it does is make interest rates higher. It makes it harder for people to get houses, get loans, get many different things like that. We could have negative interest rates if our money wasn't inflating at, well, I don't know, what is it right now? 5%? And if we remove housing from it, even lower.
Yeah. And you mentioned Argentina. I think that'll be great because they came off the world currency. They got off and they're trying to change their currency rights. But did you see that Argentina is going to stay in the Paris Climate Accord?
Yeah, I did see that. It's kind of disappointing.
I mean, that's going to take a lot of tax. Going to take lots of taxpayer dollars. Now he did downsize quite a bit with his. He did downsize quite a bit with his administrative states. They went from like 20 administrative agencies to like 9 now. So that's really good to see there. But we'll see if he slowly turns into a globalist shill.
I hope that what we see with him is that he was trying to do everything at once, but then he realizes that maybe his economy would actually suffer if they got rid out of everything. Maybe, and I'm hoping this is just me speculating and just saying like, please go the libertarian route. I'm hoping that he's going to be leaving one thing at a time and not just nuking, or what he would imagine, just nuking his economy right off the bat. I'm hoping that it is an implementation. First, I get rid of these bureaucrats. Then I can remove myself from many different trade alliances that are actually not beneficial to Argentina. In the same way America had NAFTA and the TPP. I'm hoping that every single thing he starts working through and saying, okay, we're out of this one, we're out of this one. I'm hoping that it's just for now, but he inevitably leaves.
And people got to really understand it's our bureaucrats that put us in this economic situation. It's not so much the free market. You know, the left will argue that it's the corporate greed and the corporations that put you in this situation of economic crisis. But a lot of it's just bureaucratic intervention. I believe the private market props so many people up and does so many great things and raises the quality of living. It's definitely not fair in every aspect, but it's really bureaucratic interference is what's harming our economy.
Yeah, 100%. When you have a centralized system, people don't actually get to decide for themselves what is best. When the economy is run by a single entity that is dictating to its populace what it actually wants, in the same way that the USSR and many other failed socialist countries did, you see that it completely falls apart because when people don't get the choice, they're not going to pick. People get to pick what they want. So if something is good, so for example, if we take the Toyota Corolla, it crushed all of its competition. Why? Because it's a good car. And if we take something like the Pinto, it failed because no one wanted that car.
And it blew up.
It blew up as well. And there's so many different things in which we need our free market in order to make decisions for us. Why did iPhone kill the BlackBerry? Because the iPhone is better. But right now, who's taking on Apple and who's forcing them to innovate? Not really too many people.
Why did Netflix kill Blockbuster? Well, Blockbuster was actually way better. I actually like going to get my movies from an actual place. I thought it was a whole experience. Something that my kids will never get to experience.
That's true. But they didn't innovate, and Zane wasn't supporting Blockbuster enough, and that's why they failed.
You're dang right. You know what we should do? We should go to the streets and protest.
Exactly.
And start blocking some traffic. Blocking traffic for Blockbuster, because we want to bring Blockbuster back. But in all seriousness, we have Palestine protesters blocking the streets. You gotta love this. This never gets old. This is a great solution to all of our problems. Is block traffic. Look at those 2 school buses too being blocked. No sound in the video, but we see some protesters out in California blocking the street once again. And they're trying to rightfully liberate Palestine. Yes. Do you want to liberate Palestine, Micah?
Well, if I was in that traffic, I'd be like, Israel has all the right to kill every single Palestinian. I don't know. It all depends on who was blocking the road at the time.
They should just run over every single one of them. No remorse. Or the authorities should at least do something and tase them. And
okay, it's on the I-5.
Rubber bullets.
Rubber bullets, yes. To me, that is super annoying because they want their message out there. It's, what was it called? Nonviolent civil disobedience, which I'm in support of. There's many different ways I do think people can do that, but where's the police officer? You see a police officer right there not clearing the road. What are they doing right there? That police officer, if you look at him right there, they just changed it. He was on his phone recording. They weren't actually doing their job. And that's one of the things that sickens me about the police is we've seen it during COVID. We've seen it during so many of the lockdowns. And even there, we see it now where the police officer is not actually doing his job, which is clearing the road. You see that over and over and over again where our systems have completely failed us, where people are allowed to block the road. All those people should have been cleared off there. And do you remember that video we went through with that one guy in, what was it, Chile? Or was it Chile who shot the people in the middle of the road?
Yeah. Panama. Somewhere in the Central America.
Central America. Okay, I knew it was one of those countries, but you have things like that because what if there's an ambulance in that road and someone's blocked off?
See, that dude had balls.
Yeah, he did. And so I think I'm not advocating for violence, but
advocating for violence.
Sometimes.
From the authorities, but they're probably not getting any real solid authority on how to do this. I say rubber bullets works. I don't hurt them. Don't hurt them a little bit. Give them some bruises, but don't kill them. Get them off the fucking street. There's a school bus full of children. Excuse my language. This is a family show. But yeah, I've actually been a victim to this before. I was in Minneapolis, and when Philando Castile died in Falcon Heights, Minnesota, in 2017. Remember it very vividly. There was protests everywhere. Nothing like the George Floyd. George Floyd put that to rest. But in 2017, when that happened, I was coming home from work from Wisconsin, and there was a whole mess of people in the street. Now, I wasn't this close to it. I was probably a couple miles back, but all the traffic was being diverted off, and it took me 2 hours to get home that day.
Oh,
yeah, because of these assholes that like to go to the street, and it's they're not even taking real action. And second of all, they're all wearing masks, outside. 3 years removed from the pandemic. I mean, they probably don't get any sun. They're probably vitamin D deficient. That's probably why they get sick all the damn time. Are they paid operatives? Or are they? I mean, most likely. What do you think?
I do. This is where I start getting into the interesting stuff.
Soros funded.
Exactly. That's where I was about to go. Soros funds so much stuff like that. This civil disunity. Soros is behind a lot of this type of activity. Whether the Palestinian protests here is natural or not, I think it's worth questioning, saying, why is there so many protesters blocking streets, causing mayhem? And I do think that we need to actually take a look at that and start looking into funding for all the Palestinian groups who are rioting. I think we need to start looking into all the different groups who are funded. So for example, I think that if we go back to 2020 during the Floyd riots, why were there bricks put out there? I think he should be held criminally liable or even civilly liable for all those buildings that were windows destroyed. I think that if you can tie those two together, he should have been gone after in the court of law for civil torts.
Here in the state of Oklahoma, if you are in your vehicle and someone is blocking a road and you feel unsafe, now you'd have to go through, it'd have to be due process to win this, but you can actually use, almost whatever means
deadly
necessary.
Force, yeah.
You can use deadly force, and we're one of the few states, I believe us and Florida are one of the few states, and I think this came shortly after the Garrett Foster, Daniel Perry situation down in Austin during the protests in 2020, where the Marine was, Garrett Foster had an AK-47, and he was outside of the thing, and he's basically the one that completely initiated it. Of course, the media spun it a completely opposite direction. But Daniel Perry ended up killing him. Rightfully so. I mean, he was causing and being a disturbance. I mean, F around and find out. I kind of wish it was the Wild West sometimes.
I actually had an officer tell me that one of the people I managed, someone threw a rock at their car, and the police officer actually told us, because I was there at the time, that if someone actually damages your car and you feel threatened, unload on them. And he's like, you're usually going to win in Oklahoma. And I was like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. Because, being from California, I think we have retreat laws. If someone invades your home, you have to retreat from your home. You can't use deadly force. And I know a lot of other states in the union,
they have to be facing you, like, in order to shoot people. Like, even if it's on your property in the middle of your home, like, they have to be facing you. If they're running away, you can't shoot them. If you shoot them in the back, the gunmen are in the back. I've heard cases where people lose their case, yet they're still in their home and intruding.
Yeah. Also in Oklahoma, you have the if someone's on your property, you have the 3 warning rule. And so if you have a no trespassing sign, that's the first warning. You just need to tell them 2 more times, get off my property, and then you can shoot. And if someone actually enters your home, all of that goes out the window. You don't have the obligation or the need to tell them to get out because they are trespassing your home, and you have, castle domain. Which I think that more states in the union, because to me, when I found out these laws, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm from California where we have retreat laws. I didn't even know. Like, that's aggressive. You know what I mean? It's like hearing how different conservative states are from my home state is to me, it was eye-opening, going like, wow, I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, that's it's amazing to actually live here in a conservative state during a time during like COVID, for example. I mean, it was it wasn't as bad, and I didn't really get the full scope of what it was like because I kind of shut the news off quite a bit during the time that the height of that was going on. But then you turn it on and you realize what was going on in towns like New York and LA and all this stuff, and just realize the policies were just destroying people's lives. Totally. I mean, it destroyed people's lives here as well, but not that of a liberal policy state. So
actually, one thing about that is because I was, for 2020, 2021, 2022, and part of 2023, I was in California, and it wasn't necessarily that things were so bad. It's that everyone was afraid of repercussions. So, for example, I was working with a hotel for a while, and one person threatened this was 2020, and someone threatened that, hey, I think that the hotel you were that you're running has racism in it. They gave him a month free at the hotel just because he said, I will accuse you of being racist. And they're like, we are so sorry that you thought that we could have been racist. Clearly, it wasn't. But everyone was so afraid of losing their jobs and the ramifications. That's one of the reasons why California, New York, and a lot of other states went so crazy with it, is because you don't want to be accused. It's kind of like in the Soviet era and like Ukraine and a lot of these other countries where you turn in your neighbor. You didn't want to be the person turned in for being racist because, oh no, that's the worst sin you can possibly do. It's like when the Soviet Union was having neighbors turn in neighbors. That's what was going on Twitter, now known as X.
Well, speaking of laws here in Oklahoma, we have another. This just came to me, and this is exciting. We're going to have millions of dollars freed up for the students to actually learn something and get out of the critical race theory and anti-white garbage that's being spewed across major universities. So this coming from the University of Oklahoma. Today, the governor, Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma, signed an executive order eliminating offices of diversity, equity, and inclusion at all public higher education institutions in Oklahoma. Micah, I can see why you might have moved to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Or, maybe that's not why you moved here, but it's got to be better than living in California, because would you ever see this happen in California? Absolutely not.
Oh, no. I was I actually had to extend my one semester because they during 2020 they made it, actually during 2021 they made it mandatory that I had to take another Native American Studies class, and I actually had to graduate a semester later just because they threw on an extra class I didn't need. I already had to take one, and now they made it mandatory that I learned more, because all of the humanities were no longer learning about art and literature. It's all about Africana and Indian studies. I wish I went to Oklahoma for my degree instead, because I found that my degree in economics was kind of useless when I was studying about the Navajo tribe.
Now, I want to keep following up on this, because I can guarantee you there's going to be some backlash with this with certain students. even though we are a very conservative state and we vote in all 60 or 70 counties, we're all for Donald Trump in 2020. I still think there's going to be some pretty good backlash on this, and it's good. And for those that don't understand, diversity, equity, inclusion, it sounds great. It sounds great on the shell, but when you actually dive in deeper into it and look into it, it's anti-white, and it just pushes equity over equality. And equity essentially is, equal outcomes, not equal opportunity. That's where equality lies. We don't want equity, and they play a lot of the diversity, equity, inclusion plays they play the victim mindset of, we're colored, we can't get ahead, white privilege, you're white, you're way better off in life. All those type of narratives is what comes with DEI, and it's a waste of money. Put money towards merit, not towards your diversity.
I would love to ask you about that. Why is DEI? Why is that idea so dangerous for people? Like, why do you think that DEI is so dangerous? Is it the idea in and of itself, or is it the background behind it, or the ideology behind it? What makes DEI so dangerous, in your opinion?
I think it's the narrative. It's divisive because it comes from the motive of critical race theory and this whole narrative that white people have been in control for a long time, and that white people are, more privileged, and they take all these statistics and they twist everything. Not all inequality is inequity. Just because there's an imbalance of your statistics doesn't mean it's absolutely racism. That's what diversity, equity, inclusion lies in. It's rooted in the critical race theory that everything is racist, and we have to change it with direct means by changing policy directly. It's not letting anything naturally happen. And I think that's the issue, is the narrative behind DEI.
Okay, I'm with you on that. Why do you think, besides BlackRock pushing it, why do you think it's caught on so seriously in the college campus? Why do you think the college campus is so gung-ho about pushing this mind virus? Like is it because the college gets more endowment, or do you think it's because the professors actually believe it? Because we know most professors are communist leftists.
Well, my brother, he goes to a school in North Dakota, and we are 100% on the opposite spectrum when it comes to critical race theory and a lot of those issues, because we've talked about it before, and he's so like pro critical race theory. I mean, he'll lick the feet of Rodman D'Angelo and white fragility, like right in front of me. I guess I don't know. It seems a lot of it seems like globally induced. I mean, you can go back to the Rockefeller influence on education and large globalist entities influencing the education system for special interest. So I really don't know, and I think a lot of people are just picking it up because it sounds like the right thing, and the nice thing to do is to be inclusive to everything and everybody, which rightfully so. I mean, you should be, on the surface, like, it sounds like a good idea, but I really think it tears culture down and props somebody up artificially.
Yeah, because I know something that I always talk about quite a bit is diversity isn't our strength, it's their strength. Because when you can sow disunity amongst the populace, you can then break them. Because if I don't get along with a person in any single way, and I have no common background, I have no common interests, and we come from completely different walks of life, it's harder for me to unify against the true evil, which is the globalists, the agenda, the deep state, the powers that be. And so even when your brother, he comes in with his D'Angelo book, you bring in the Great Reset book, and we'll battle it out.
Yes, I'm actually trying to get my brother on the show. I think he'd be our first opposition, someone that actually goes against our views, and it'd be a great conversation. He's just super busy because he's trying to become a doctor, not a medical doctor, one of those types of doctors.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. All props to him. He wants to actually do good things and like do some sort of like scientific research. But I'm trying to get him on the show and see how that goes. because I think it's good to have the conversation with other people, and to go against your opposition. I don't know if you watched the Elon Musk Alex Jones interview on Saturday or Sunday, but General Flynn made up a good point. He's like, why can't we get like a Yuval Noah Harari, Klaus Schwab, Alex Jones, and Elon Musk like debate going, like, 2v2, let's talk about world problems. It's because they don't even want to they don't want to even entertain the idea at all, because why do you think that is? Why wouldn't they want to do that?
Well, I think it's the same reason why leftists hate debating people. Because, let me just take the debate between Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis as this happened. I'm not really the biggest Ron DeSantis fan, but he brought stats and statistics while Gavin Newsom lied about every single thing. The idea of the left, the idea of Harari and Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates, that doesn't hold up to scrutiny. And that's one of the reasons why they can't debate someone like Alex Jones, because Alex Jones would come with the receipts. And it's really difficult to have a debate with someone with facts when all you're bringing is a pathos argument all about emotions and, hey, wouldn't it be nicer if everyone just got along and we eroded your culture and your civilization and made you all slave to debt? Like once you actually look at their points and all the things that, like, let's use Harari for example. His goal of turning people against God and making them become, I don't know, part of the machine and getting rid of human and replacing us with, I don't know, AI consciousness. That idea doesn't hold up to scrutiny, so he can't debate it because his idea isn't full of merit.
And it's not backed by the people. And I think they truly know what people's interests are, what the working class interest is. It's completely different than that of an elite globalist, and they can't entertain to the conversation because they know it's not the popular one. It's not what the populist movement wants. And you make up a good point. And one last question before we hit the show is, we've had this discussion on BasedCast here. Is AI going to take over man? Now, I have a completely different position than we were on the show last time talking about this, is where I was saying AI is going to take over humanity. I don't think, maybe we'll make the prediction that it's not going to overtake man, that it's not going to become smarter than man, and it's not going to have the singularity, and it's going to become self-aware, because man is ultimately smarter than AI. But what does man do with the AI? How does the man use AI to control and manipulate? Imagine this. Imagine if AI became the judge and the jury and the executioner. And imagine if an AI, artificial intelligence, is now giving you a verdict on whether you're guilty or not. Did you see the Robbie Starbuck AI thing?
No, I have not. What is
he
that?
Went into Bard by Gemini, which it's like an AI software, and he basically asked about himself, and he gave it like a certain thing, and it was basically telling him to give him the death penalty because of his conservative views, and he's like an alt-right conservative. And if you don't know Robbie Starbuck, he's a very middle-of-the-road guy when it comes to conservatism. He's not crazy right. The media will depict it a certain way, but it's like, what is man going to do with AI? How are they going to manipulate it? How are they going to come out with fake news stories of Donald Trump doing something that he actually didn't do, but it's really AI? Music is going to be AI, and I think it already is. We see videos, movies are AI. I mean, ChatGPT and other AI softwares can completely write you a movie or even a song if you want. I think it's just going to destroy human consciousness. It's not going to become self-aware, and maybe it destroys us in that sense, but man is going to use it in a way that's going to deplete our capabilities, and then I think it's just going to be used as a weapon.
I do see that as well, because I don't necessarily believe in the same way that like the AI becomes a Terminator. I do think that AI will become a tool like the nuclear weapon, where every single country develops AIs, because then you can attack, and we talked about this on a couple of shows ago, about the power grid. You can go after someone's infrastructure, and it will be AI versus AI in the same way that there's nuclear missile versus nuclear missile. But here's a really kind of a funny thing to end the AI discussion with. Have you ever looked up when they let AI surf the internet and it becomes racist, sexist, or homophobic? Have you ever looked that up? Like about how
Say that again?
When AI is let free on the internet to search everything, it becomes either sexist, racist, or homophobic.
Not bad.
So AI based?
AI is based. But no, in all honesty, I think AI is gonna make our life different. It's gonna drastically change us. It's kind of it's like 10 times more than that of what computers did for, you know, our parents. I mean, I don't know. My parents grew up in the 80s. I mean, your parents sound maybe a little bit older. Grew up in the 70s.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 70s, 80s. They grew up in the 70s, 80s when computers were coming out. And, you know, that completely changed and transformed their lives. But I think we're coming to a point where AI is just going to do that tenfold and make it even more life-changing.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just going to be governments having AI, fighting AI in the same way that it's going to be humans controlling AI that hurt each other. In the same way that we have weapons right now that can hurt other people, it's humans that are be pointing AIs at each other, making them fight.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, you know, follow the you don't follow the passion of man. Follow solid faith, and don't be deceived by the mainstream media. What else do you have to add to that, Micah?
Yeah, be smarter than the average person. Like that's the only thing. Follow God. Wake up to the programming. Really, like don't be programmed by CNN. Don't be programmed by MSNBC. Think for yourself. Don't be swayed. Don't be a basically a pawn of the state. Be better.
Yeah, create your own life how you want to, and make things great for you and your family, and have some kids. You know, population is going down. If you don't desire to have kids, don't adopt them, or don't adopt them. Don't buy babies like Dave Rubin and Shane Dawson. Have real kids, and you know, continue to populate, and you know, they can't outnumber all of us. They can't outnumber us if we're the ones having kids and they're not having kids. So with that being said, thanks for having us on the show tonight, or thanks for viewing us on our amazing show. We're glad to be here, and this has been the 74th episode of BasedCast. We're going to continue to chug right along until we get to 1 million episodes and we become the world's greatest podcast.
Exactly. And we're going to be run by AI then too. So let's be AI Micah, AI Zane, you know, we'll be having fun.
Oh man, I can't wait. We just press one button. Boom, program. That's what we're talking about. All right. Well, thank you guys. Like, subscribe. We're on Rumble, Twitter, True Social, X, formerly known as Twitter. So get a subscribe, give us some likes, and we love you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.